Hey, Big Love fam. Welcome to Superfreq. This is a high vibe podcast, y'all, exploring all things frequencies, how they govern, form, shape our realities, and are the key to living from your full potential. It's non-woo convos about super woo shit, unpacking what I call the science of self, from body and soul literacy to the power of understanding vibration, higher consciousness, quantum physics, and spiritual psych. Let this podcast become a resource for you on your journey to self-mastery. If you're curious and ready to free your mind, unlock the body, and truly become limitless, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Tally. This is Superfreq, awakening for the next gen. Let's go.
Hey, everybody. So in this week's clips, I'm going to talk about contrary action, why it's so important, what it means and looks like, and why it's really the key to awakening faster. Let's dive in.
It's a really, really good question because it's really practical. So if you're used to solving your problems the same way, for example, let's say you get injured, okay? And you fall down, you scrape your toe, you scrape your foot, or maybe a little bit more of a serious injury befalls you. You are typically the type to not really worry about it. You don't go to the doctor, you kind of brush it under the rug. Oh, it's fine. You put a little ointment on there, you wrap it up, and you're good to go. Take 2 Advil, call me in the morning kind of thing. If you're the type, chances are you're running self-abandonment patterns, meaning there's not enough worthiness. You don't have enough value of self to take the necessary steps to show up for yourself. Meaning you would do that for a child. You would make sure people around you are taken care of, that you have information. Okay. If you fell down, you would want to go to, let's say, a doctor or a clinic or something like that to make sure that you don't have a broken bone or there's not something else going on that you're not aware of. You are in the practice of action, getting into action to get information. At least you went through the necessary steps to show up for yourself. It has very little to do with what the doctor is going to tell you. It has everything to do with you validating that you're enough and you're worth taking care of. Really need this to land because I was terrible at this, really terrible at taking care of myself because I had all this bullshit running underneath there. Now, when something happens, I'm a beast. I'm a fucking beast. Me knowing how to navigate not doing well in foreign countries in terms of my medical health, the last 2 years, 3 years, black belt in it. I have a fucking black belt, well-versed. For example, when I first got to Albania, I was really keen on getting blood work because I've been actively working on reprogramming parts of my cells. And so I wanted to see where certain levels were in terms of my iron and some other things that were going on. So I got blood work done. I don't like getting needles injected into my arms. I am so needle squeamish and I'm a highly tattooed person. It's very different. When it goes intravenous, no. When it's it's topical, when it's on top of my skin, I'm fine with it. But it totally gives me the willies and I'm a terrible patient. So I just said, what if taking care of myself actually became something I wasn't so squeamish? I embraced it, right? So I got several different rounds of blood across a couple of weeks done, several different tests, and it was no big deal. I started to really lean into the fact someone who really, really loves themselves and takes care of themselves and honors who they are goes through this process and it's no big deal. Contrary action, contrary behavior, contrary experience. I have a totally different story now about getting blood work, about how I show up for myself. It's completely different. It's not so overwhelming. It's not so scary. And quite frankly, it's been esteem building. Another thing you can look at when it comes to contrary action is asking yourself where the pattern came from. Where did you learn the abandonment of self? Where did you learn to, avoid yourself? Where did you pick that up? What parent modeled that for you? It's not a natural response. That's typically a trauma response. When we come here, we get the handbook for how this reality works. That handbook is in our DNA. We scan our environment and we see that the opposite is happening and we create all of these strategies to keep us safe. For example, if we are in an eggshell environment with the maternal and the paternal line disagreeing, you see a lot of this with alcohol, addiction, abuse, you are noticing your parents in disagreement. The nervous system is in training to instability and chaos. It's in training to survivability. It's on an absolute high alert, hypervigilance is being created, and you're being taught, that little kid is scanning the environment and seeing all the things that you're not saying, all the things that you're not doing. It's scanning your patterns and behavior, these little beings, and going, oh, okay. So she's telling me one thing, but her patterns are the opposite. That's why it has nothing to do with what you say, and it has everything to do with how you show up for yourself as parents. This is where the real work begins. Most parents don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to look at their behavior. And guess what? That's what the child is picking up, avoidance. So if you've picked up a pattern around avoidance, chances are that was during the hypnagogic state when your brain is in theta from 6 months old to 8 years. That patterning, not yours. Okay. You identify that when you're starting to observe where you picked something up, the story that you're tell yourself, what you were afraid of. Ask yourself, fear is driving all of our behavior for the most part. What am I afraid people will find out about me? And what am I afraid to lose? Because typically there's a payoff when you behave the certain way that you do, and you're afraid of something. So what is it? When you get down to the bottom of that, that's where things become really illuminating. And that's, for me, where sessions become extra electrifying, because you're just about ready to break a pattern. So the next thing after observing whose pattern is it is to locate and track it in the body. Where is this showing up in my body space? People that I work on most of the time are from shoulders up. That's where all their energy is focused. Very, very few of us actually know what it means to be embodied.
Thanks so much for listening, you guys. Please make sure to leave a review and follow the fun on social media, because that's how it works in this world. In the meantime, get your freak on. I'll see you in the next session.